What's up, everybody? David from Flash by V Cycle Nut here. Got some exhaust systems here for the new Kawasaki Zx4rr. My bike's sitting there, all sadly apart, but I will have parts needed today to at least get to dyno testing it again, which I plan on starting to test some of these tomorrow. And then I have a big box of parts coming to me on Tuesday, so I should be back up and running on the street like my accident never happened by mid next week. But let's move on to happier things. So I got 3 exhaust systems here for the new Zx4rr. I got the stock one, of course. I got a Yoshimura system. This one's designed for actually the 250. And then I have the new Graves low mount designed specifically for the 400. So let's take a look at them, how they differ, how they're the same, and give a small little technical discussion on exhaust systems. First system we're going to look at is the stock system. Stock system total weighed in about 19 pounds, 15 ounces, or almost 20 pounds. We got the header, which has, it's a 4 into 2 into, I don't know, you can't really see what it is, right? We got crossover pipes between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 4. The firing order on this bike is 1, 2, 4, 3. So that's why we're going to see 1 and 2 connected all the time and 4 and 3. Once it gets into there, we have a catalytic converter. Normally now, modern catalytic converters flow pretty good. I know everybody always likes to get them ripped out because they think they're this huge block, but most of the time they're not. But that is a really small cross-sectional area for a catalytic converter. So I'm guessing that's probably a choke point in the stock exhaust. You got it to come back, and it comes back to a canister, and the canister, you can't see through it. It's like a maze, right? So stock canisters got that little opening on the exit. They're for noise emissions. They're heavy, and they do a fairly efficient job, really. Usually removing them, you get a few horsepower, but nothing crazy. So that's a look at the next exhaust we're going to look at is the Yoshimura, designed again for the 250 Ninja. That weighed in at a total of about 8 pounds, 10 ounces. So we're moving, what's that, about 10 pounds off the bike with this system. It's got the same size primaries as we'd expect coming out of where it meets up to the head, which has to be, right? Really, we can't be bigger because it's only going to be limited by that output of the exhaust port. We got some nice crossover tubes between 1, 2, and 3, and 4. It's also a 4 into 2, and then that 2 goes into 1, and we have a fairly short portion of the 2 part before it goes into 1. And then we got a fairly long mid pipe up to a canister. The canister is like a stainless with a carbon end cap. Not a bad looking system. I'm not real happy that the O2 sensor is only for narrowband and it's that far up the exhaust. For tuning, that's not optimal, but we'll make it work. As far as sizing of tubing, once we got past the primary, and in here, it does enlarge a little bit over the stock. And then, so like I said, since we can't see what's going on there, we know this is a 4 and a 2 into 1. Last exhaust we're going to take a quick look at is the Graves low mount. This is a full titanium system with the carbon fiber canister. This system weighed in at a total of 6 pounds, 15 ounces, so almost 7 pounds. About more than 1.5 pounds lighter than the Yosh, and about 13 pounds lighter than the stock system. It's also same size coming out, like I said, as we'd expect. No crossover tubes on this one. Again, this is a 4 into 2 into 1 design. It's a much shorter mid pipe. The Graves is going to have a longer mid pipe exhaust come out. So we'll have to see how that compares when we get it. As far as tubing size, you can see there's a nice step up here before the collector that's not there on the other systems. It is larger there than the other 2 systems. I would expect this system to flow a little better. And the opening, we got a large straight through normal aftermarket design muffler. I forgot on the Yosh to look at the can. We have a DB killer in the canister for that's removable. So we'll probably do most of our testing with that out. Let's take a look at a little bit how exhaust systems work from how I understand them, and why most people look at the wrong end of exhaust. When most people look at exhaust configurations, they look right at the canister, right? And that's what they look at. How long the canister is, where it sits on the bike, and the shape of it even. And sometimes even material, which really that is not the business end of the exhaust. These headers are really what dictate power delivery flow, where the pipe works the best. I'll explain that in a second. So when you're looking at an exhaust and how they compare to another exhaust, it's the header you want to look at, not the far. So when thinking about an exhaust, most people kind of just think of it like this big pressure and one big flow. But remember, that's not what happens. Each cylinder fires individually, and in this case, it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, and those exhaust pulses obviously travel down the exhaust tubing, and they get to the first collector. Why is the collector distance is important? How far it is from the head to the collector is important because it's timing. As that exhaust pulse rushes down and goes through this collector, it actually creates a vacuum on the other cylinder attached to it. So by changing the length to this first collector, we can change at what RPMs that we get a little extra scavenging effect from the cylinder. If the exhaust valve is open on the second cylinder, while this exhaust pulse passes through the collector and creates a vacuum on it, that's going to help scavenge the old exhaust out of it. You also can use some tricks with valve overlap that are way over my head that help exhaust intake cylinder filling, but way over my head. When now we have two sections, we have a 4 into 2 and then into 1. And that same thing happens when an exhaust pulse rushes past this collector. It creates vacuum on the opposite side, or a scavenging effect. So these distances are really important because that, again, that gives the timing of when that scavenging effect happens. The next thing that's important is tubing diameter. And tubing diameter is important because for that scavenging effect to happen that we were talking about a little bit ago, the exhaust gas velocity has to be kept high. And when you take a pulse or an exhaust or any kind of air moving and you put it into a larger area, it slows down. So it's a compromise always between a smaller that will keep that velocity really going good, but then you're going to max out on how much exhaust pulse you can flow, versus having a larger one where it doesn't quite have the scavenging effect at the lower RPMs, but once it gets good and blowing, once we get higher in the RPMs with more volume, then it works out well. In my experience, motorcycles with smaller size cylinders, I don't think people think about this a lot either, but we're looking at this for a 400, a 4-cylinder 400. So each cylinder is only 100 cc's. Whereas if you looked at like a big V-twin, like my 996 over there, that's only 2 cylinders. Well, what's the math? 448 cc's per cylinder. So this little 100 cc cylinder is a lot more sensitive to exhaust design in my experience. So we will find out the distance. It's really hard to measure distance from head to collector. You can try taking a string and following it along, but in the end, it's just really difficult. Eyeing them up, I think the collector is the main primary length is a little shorter on the grays versus the Yosh. And we could talk theory all day long about what that's going to do, but really we will find out on the dyno. So I will start testing these tomorrow. I want to thank my awesome customer that sent me this Yosh system before he mounted it up on his bike so I could fully test it. So since he's awesome enough to do that, that's going to be the first system I test. Like I said, I'll be dynoing it tomorrow. I expect by the end of next week to have that test done, fully wrapped up, and then I'll move on to the graves. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like my content, be sure to hit subscribe. Take care.